Today, let's talk about sick buildings. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to another post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. And today I have Edwin Almeida with me again. Hello Edwin, good to see you again.
Great to see you again, Martin.
Now, I'm interested in this concept of sick buildings, right? Which I think means they're not very well built and they like to fall apart before we actually expect them to fall apart. Is that right?
Yeah, well, under-engineered. But you know, the interesting thing is that they comply with the building code,
right?
The statutes, but they're under-engineered because the mass, the sheer weight of the building, and the amount of people that actually live in these apartments, high-rise apartments, particularly. So you've got a lot of the wear and tear on the common areas, lifts, pools, gyms, car parks, whatever else you want to call as common area in there.
Right. So in the UK, most homes that are built would have a house builder's guarantee, right? So that anything that goes wrong in that period of time would actually fall back to the builder to fix up. Now, I don't think there's anything similar in Australia, is there?
This is the rule of thumb.
No.
Anything that's 4 levels and above, there is no homeowner's warranty insurance.
Okay. Right.
Anything that's 3 levels and below, like 3-story walk-ups, we talk about the 3-story walk-ups, we talk about the duplexes, townhouses, villas, freestanding homes. They've got a homeowner's warranty, 7 years homeowner's warranty insurance.
Yeah.
But anything, as I said, 4 levels and above in Sydney, in New South Wales, there is no homeowner's warranty insurance. What there is in place is a 2-year period in which, under the Strata Act, that the strata managers or the owner's corporation have to provide the builder with a report, an engineering report, because there are allowances for rectification work to be done on the main structure of the structural body of the complex.
Right.
But there lies the problem. And that goes to what I've posted out before as well, which you touched on in one of our other videos, and that is the dangerous liaisons between the developer and the marketing company or the selling agents that have sold those blocks off the plan.
Yeah.
So we've got this scenario where the selling agent or marketing company is also the property management company, because they're mainly sold to investors, and is also either aligned with the strata manager, or they also have a side business, a strata management business. What are the chances of any of the rectification work to be done by the developer? What are the chances that they are going to put the reports together on time in order to comply for them to come back and fix it?
Right. It's poacher and gamekeeper, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Right.
So it's and look, I've talked about it before. It is an issue. It's a big issue. It has been a big issue, and it's the issue gets bigger where there's obviously more investors in one block than owner-occupiers. And you could pretty much say anything that's been built over the last 5 years, 80-90% would be investors.
Right. So there's meant to be some activity up for 2 years, but nothing at all beyond that. So once you're in year 3 and beyond, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 months before the 2 years are up, a report's got to be, there are certain timelines that they've got to meet, the strata manager, and the reports have got to be presented. Right. Otherwise, the developer just basically says, thank you very much.
Right, okay. And throughout the development process, right, most of the checking that's done is self-certification Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. 88 in Queensland, 88 in Queensland, New South Wales, 88, 89 Queensland, New South Wales.
Yeah.
Were the changes for private certification,
Yeah.
and you've got to rely on that.
So basically, there's no independent checking.
Well, the private certifiers are meant to be independent. Anyway.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
They're meant to be independent. But see, this is what again, I go back to the under-engineered side of my argument.
Yes.
And that is that we're not used to building high-rise.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Other than for commercial.
Yeah.
And most of the commercial that was built high-rise was built on either stone, in the CBD. So they had a lot of digging, a lot of jackhammering to do, cutting through stone, which is going to be stable because there was 4 or 5 basements. But when you're building a high-rise on water tables, where you're building high-rise in floodplains, where it's mostly sediment and clay, there's going to be a lot of movement. Again, I go back to the fact that it complies with the codes. Even the mechanical ventilation complies.
Yep.
But just because it complies doesn't mean that it's adequate.
Right.
So you've got all this movement and shifting, and it's all, think of it, it's all concrete and brick. And you got 30, 40, 50, 60 levels.
Yep.
In some cases now. I know there are building companies that one comes to mind, Maris. They've got a different form of construction. It's a lot more lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that has less impact on, as you dig down, less movement.
Sure.
It's pretty much steel and prefabricated block. But even the prefabricated block is made of hevel and then rendered and then finished off. So obviously that's a lot more lightweight than slab after slab after slab and the way you go. So you know that there's going to be movement. And then when you've got one building, and then you've got another one behind it, another one alongside it, and you're all digging for that same, to those same levels.
Yeah.
And the contiguous piling that I've seen from 15, 17 years ago, it pretty much butted up against each other. But now they've got this new engineering concepts where they're pretty much 2.5 meters apart, and there's mesh in between. And I think to myself, oh my God, like this is really going so minimising on the structural, so the integrity in what we don't see, which is the basement, obviously is going to have a huge effect all the way up to the top.
Yeah. So we've had this sort of massive building boom for the last few years. What's your view looking ahead? Are we going to find a lot of these buildings get to the point where they almost have to be sort of taken apart and rebuilt?
We've got a number of issues. The ones that get televised and the ones that get the mainstream pick up on, which is the cladding, and flammable cladding, all this. So there's rectification work. Yep. But interestingly, how even those developers or the builders that have gone through the courts have said, "I'm sorry, but this is the statute. This is if you wanted something done, you should have done it before."
Right.
So we've got these issues. Then we've also got when these rigid structures, when they move, it's going to affect the waterproofing. And yourself and your subscribers would have seen as they're driving down the road, they see all these white marks, creeping down the walls of these high-rise developments. Yep. Well, that's waterproofing's failed. A lot of that's the salt and all the chemicals wanting to come out through the cracks. So there's hairline cracks, and water wants to get out. And as it is pushing the render out from the brick, it brings out all these chemicals with it, and then you get all these marks. But internally, the the waterproofing membranes also crack,
Right.
and then you end up with waterproofing issues. Now, these waterproofing issues create that aren't, particularly when they're not taken care of fairly quickly, and a lot of the cases they're not, we end up with mould.
Mm.
And mould is deadly. It's a silent killer of the. It's what asbestos was, and it can be even more deadly because we don't see it. We haven't really accepted it as being a deadly substance, as deadly as what it really is. And in some cases, Martin, I've actually got footage of where I've had certain apartments treated, where we've gone in there with the special goggles and the camera and everything, and they've been treated for anti-mold stuff, and you see the spores, covering the furry toys that the baby's been sleeping with.
Right.
And yet the issue was 2 rooms away.
Yep.
It's scary.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are living with that, with the mechanical ventilation not being sufficient enough. And although, as I said, he complies, but all sorts of things happen. Bricks fall on it, so they get compressed. They don't really ventilate. There's no cross-flow ventilation in these high-rise developments. There's no windows.
Yep.
It's not like we could open up, 3-story walk-ups, so you could just open things up and ventilate it naturally. Our lifestyles have changed, so you're not going to leave windows and screen doors open so that the apartments can ventilate, because obviously you're going to be scared of break-ins and so forth. I've had issues in high-rise property management, in buildings that we manage, where thieves have actually scaled 20 levels to break into the property the next door to the property that we were managing.
Right. Doesn't bear thinking about. So, this sounds like a policy failure then.
Very much so.
And is it a regulatory issue, or is it a government issue, or is it an industry issue? Where do you think the buck should stop?
Where does the corruption start, and where is it going to end?
Well,
maybe a better term to use.
Across the board, then.
It's crazy. Where is it going to end? I don't know. I have been thinking about it in the last few months. What will happen? Eventually, I'd say a number of buildings are going to become inhabitable.
Okay.
Because the owners' corporation aren't going to have the sufficient funds to get the rectification work done.
Right.
And I think there's one particular one in Queensland. It just came in and out, where that was happening, with basically the whole building needs to be evacuated. Yeah. Because in order to deal with, there's just too much. Yeah. It's just, everything's just broken down. In terms of the waterproofing, once the waterproofing's gone, that's it. It's basically you've got to pull tiles down. You've got to more or less renovate. It's a whole renovation process. Yep. But even that's not going to fix the real issue, because oftentimes the issue is 4 levels below ground. Yep. That's where it's all got to get rectified. Right. But in the meantime, it's going to be all these ad hoc repairs for this here. So owners corporations are going to go broke. Right. And then people are taking huge risks in letting these properties or giving them to property managers to let. And if the property managers aren't up to speed with what's going on, or they know and they just want to put it to the side because they're under pressure by the real estate office to let it out at all costs, well, it's really going to have huge effects all around, Martin. And that's why I'm saying I quite a number, if not a large number of buildings, definitely a very large number of individual apartments will just become a no-go zone.
Right. So we've actually got the prospect then of fairly modern slums. Is what you,
as I call them, the $1 million ghettos.
Right. Okay.
So the video that you posted a few weeks ago, the $1 million ghettos. Yeah. That's what you've got.
Right. Okay.
But it's deeper than that. What I even showed in that video was just on the outside.
Yes.
It's what's in the inside that scares the
Yeah.
the pants off me.
Okay. Very interesting, Edwin. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay. So there you have it. The sick building syndrome is with us, and it looks as though it could even get worse as we go forward. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.